Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Brian E. Roach and Christina Rivers.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Brian E. Roach, the host who does not like toast, and I am Joe Kuzma-less today. Joe is having a busy weekend doing his thing and all the things he needs to do. And so normally that would mean the professor of football is here. But we've upgraded the professor of football to another really smart person, a genius, a wondrous person, and the light of our lives here at SCU. Am I going too far? I don't think I am.
A little bit.
I don't think I am. Tina Rivers. Christina, how you doing today?
Well, if it wasn't so much extra real life stress and trying to do all this background stuff, I think I'd be fine. But let's just say taking a couple Xanax helped.
Well, that's probably good, and that's probably a good way to start this show is taking a couple Xanax, and let me tell you why. We're going to dip in to the crazy side of life today. We're going to talk about Steelers conspiracy theories a little bit and some draft needs stuff. And the question really is, are these conspiracy theories? Is it truly a conspiracy? Is it truly something that is so outlandish and out of this world that it's not true? Or is there a grain of truth in some of these? So, I know you're excited to talk about this. And
I am, because you're going to be my Fox Mulder to my Dana Scully.
Oh, there. See, Joe can't pull that one. That's right. There you go. You're my Scully, and I'm your Mulder. There we go. I can't do the X-Files theme. I can't do it. Screw it. Okay. But if we could play the X-Files theme without Fox suing us, we would right now. But we can't, so we won't. Anyway. To start this off, look, it's draft time, and I know that everybody truly enjoyed the magnificence of Jason Witten on Monday Night Football, and we were all tremendously saddened that he decided to give up his broadcasting career to once again lace the old cleats up with the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm not sure you've heard this, but I heard this. That an ex-Steeler or two that played the same position that Witten played might be considering doing the same thing. What have you heard, Tina?
Well, sources from the Quad City Times in Iowa had some interesting insights from the Iowa Hawkeyes Pro Day, and it's neither confirmed nor denied that the Steelers sent a representative there that may or may not have been Mark Bruner,
former tight end for the Steelers.
Yes, for those who have been longtime Steelers fans. And he may or may not have laced up the cleats to run some of the drills.
And why would he do that if he wasn't thinking to himself, look, who better than somebody who is now a scout for the Steelers to realize the need for a good, dynamic tight end so that they can do some interesting new sets than Mark Bruner. So, of course, if he's lacing up the cleats, he's going to come back, right?
Well, and with all the attention on Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson, interesting to, get into the conspiracy. It's not necessarily the black gold conspiracy line, X-Files line, but for the two most talked about tight ends in this upcoming draft, and then for him to be lacing up the cleats, it makes you wonder, what did motivate him to do that?
Yeah, it's an interesting prospect. Now, this is something else that I can neither confirm nor deny, although I can confirm that Earl Heath Miller was at the Combine, and he was at the Combine kind of coaching up tight end prospects. And while I cannot, as I said, I cannot confirm or deny the next statement because it would be violating my source. It has been reported by a unknown source that will be unknown and unnamed that one Earl Heath Miller heard about one Mark Bruner and thought, I'm going to go you one better, my friend, because I'm younger and I'm more awesome than you. And that maybe even egged on by a call from one Ben Roethlisberger, Earl Heath Miller could be coming back to the Steel City.
Well, and Heath Miller being the proverbial security blanket for Big Ben, is it outlandish to consider that Heath Miller might make a return, considering all the negative press that Big Ben has received lately, and Kevin Colbert getting called out for saying that the players in the locker room were kids? Well, Heath Miller certainly is not a kid, and he has Super Bowl experience.
Absolutely.
So,
maybe it's time for another adult in the room. Maybe that's what the Steelers really need. And on top of that, I think this is going to lead into our draft discussion, because the real reason that Heath Miller might be coming back, the real purpose of this could be conversations that say, look, we love the Vanimal. The Vanimal is great, but he sometimes gets hit or hurt. The Mack truck sometimes has a derailed tire. But wouldn't it be awesome to have him and Heath there, and have Heath there to maybe start to educate a new member of the Steelers who might appear on draft day at a position that he used to play, to help incorporate him into the environment of Steelerdom and teach him the Steeler way? Who better than Heath Miller, who certainly, as you said, has the Super Bowl experience, is a two-time Super Bowl champ. He's a guy that everybody respected. And if you're Ben and Heath is your security blanket, don't you think, look, I know that there's another big character out there in the world who had a security blanket. His name was Linus Van Pelt. And Linus' security blanket never left him. Well, Ben's left him. Heath left him. And if that happened to Linus, Linus would do whatever he could to get his security blanket back. I think that the security blanket itself might have had feelings to come back to Linus. And so maybe that's what Heath is doing here. He's going, I need to go protect my guy. I need to be there for him. I need to make sure we have some co-parenting responsibilities with all these children. And Heath Miller comes back to the Steelers just in time for the Steelers to draft a tight end. What do you think?
Well, and I mean, now that Jesse James has moved on to the Detroit Lions, fans who have missed the chanting of Heath, all those fans can now kind of pull out their retired jerseys and put those on. I mean, the excitement that is brewing just from the potential of this conspiracy, this scenario. I mean, Steelers fans have got to be going crazy with this.
Yeah, and again, as I said, we did some mock drafts not that long ago, and in one of them that I put out on the Twitter sphere there, I had the Steelers taking one of the Iowa tight ends, Hawkinson, in the first round. And, look, it was a scenario that I even at the time I wasn't really fully invested in, but I did it because that was the best player available at the time. And it was interesting because a lot of people were like, are you crazy, tight end in the first round? A lot of people were like, that's kind of interesting. And I know that you brought up this subject in the back rooms at SCU about why the Steelers should consider drafting a tight end in the first round. Maybe you should expand on that a little bit. So from your side, based on what you hear being out there in Iowa, where these two hot tight end prospects are, why should they be considered by the Steelers in the first round?
Well, realistically, this is the first time that the Iowa Hawkeyes have had probably the top two potential draft picks in the top 50. Well, I can't even remember the last time that they had two guys that would probably end up in the top 50. With the success of George Kittle, it's hard not to look at Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson. Kittle set the bar pretty high. He surprised a lot of people. People that don't watch the Big Ten. It's silly not to watch the Big Ten because I know you're a big Ohio State fan.
Absolutely.
But everybody's eyes are on those two tight ends now, and we all in the SCU back channels, your typical co-host Joe, and first him and I had a discussion, and he thought, that'd be silly. Well, I started kind of picking on him a little bit and saying, well, let's look at Hawkinson and let's look at Fant and why they might not be silly picks for the Steelers in the first round. And the more I talked, even though he called me a homer, the more he started coming around to the idea that maybe it's not quite as ridiculous as he originally thought.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how this all got started.
So, all right. I mean, here's the thing. These are not your normal tight ends. Both of these guys are not your average, everyday tight end. They can stretch the field. They can do different things. They're dangerous receivers. In some ways, you could even put them out there in a set with Vance McDonald as a wideout, giving Ben even more opportunities. We know he likes tall guys. They're tall. So why wouldn't they consider this? If you're going to consider a wide receiver in the first round, which I think a lot of people are considering as an option now that, Mr. Big Chest is gone, why wouldn't you consider, a tight end, especially a tight end with these kind of receiving capabilities?
Well, and it's interesting, honestly, it's very interesting that Fant and Hawkinson throughout this prospect procedure, the combine season, so to speak, the two of them have kind of flip-flopped. Some people thought, right off the bat, they had Fant number one. Because he is one of the better athletes at all the positions to enter the draft, not just at tight end. And he has the ability to, the Steelers don't have a receiver that is his size. And his level of athleticism would give Pittsburgh not only the alpha that they need in the red zone, but a guy that can win contested catches. He's a mismatch for opposing defenses, and he has the ability to line up pretty much anywhere as a receiver. So he would easily give Pittsburgh a weapon at tight end that they've been missing since Heath Miller days. And his ceiling is higher. So again, going back to whether or not Miller, the security blanket, may or may not confirmed or not confirmed be available, Fant could provide the Steelers another option at slot. He could be moved to the outside opposite Juju Smith-Schuster. They definitely need help in the red zone. And his athletic ability and size, I think, gives them a different looking weapon than they've had as far as tight ends and receivers.
I would agree with you. I think that's absolutely correct. I think it's a viable point. And again, I think this feeds into the narrative that Heath is coming back. Because if you're going to draft a tight end, the guy you want in the room is Heath Miller. All respect to Mark Bruner, but, look, Bruner's been out of the game for a long time. And while he may have been inspired by these two guys in Iowa to, slap on the cleats or whatnot, I don't think, honestly, and in all fairness, that Mark Bruner is going to be the guy to come back and teach these tight ends, what to do. But I do think Heath Miller could be. So Bruner, he's 46 years old. That's just, look, maybe Tom Brady's going to play till he's 46, maybe not. But normally that's a kicker. Kickers play until they're at 46. A tight end, he's not coming back at 46. Heath's not that old. Heath could come back, and frankly, I just think there's nobody better to take and groom. I'm going to go so far as to say that the Steelers need to take a page out of the Ravens playbook and draft a tight end in the first and second round. I know everybody thinks defense is the way to go, but this is a deep class of tight ends, and I think we need just as many tight ends as the Ravens have, and they have like 72. So we're not going to be able to draft 72 tight ends in the first round, or in this draft. But I think we need to be able to start to replicate the success that the Ravens are having with tight ends in their offense. Clearly, they won the division last year. They're the people to beat. So we need to think about that. Can you imagine think about this as a set? All right, what if Fant drops to the second round, and the Steelers trade up with one of their extra thirds and their second-round pick to get Fant after they already drafted Hawkinson in the first. Now you could have a receiving core of Juju Smith-Schuster, T.J. Hawkinson, Noah Fant, and Vance McDonald all on the field at the same time. Who do you cover? Can't be stopped. I'm telling you right now, they don't have enough guys to cover tight ends in this league. We already know that. It's unstoppable.
Well, it would be – everybody talked about what a juggernaut offense the Kansas City Chiefs had, because – what tight end is on the Kansas City roster?
Travis Kelce.
He's my favorite player. Say his name. I can't say his name, so you need to say his name.
Travis Kelce.
That's it. Okay. Now, we all know that, he can throw a fit. He can be a little bit of a diva on the field, but he showed what? He showed that he could give a rookie quarterback everything he needed. Now, take T.J. Hawkinson, okay? I've been on the Hawkinson train from the very beginning because he's a local boy. He's from Sheraton, Iowa. So, kind of got to see some of his high school stuff. And while Fant got a lot of attention because he had big playability, Hawkinson only had 2 seasons to Fant's 4 before declaring for the draft. And the way that the Hawkeyes offense utilized him, Hawkinson has a much larger than Fant does, which is why I think Fant has, in a lot of mock drafts, gone down while Hawkinson has gone closer to the top. He has great size. He's elusive in the open field despite the size. He has big, fantastic, soft hands, which we all love. And he'll go for that extra yardage after the catch while still protecting the ball. And he has one of the most reliable red zone. He is one of the most reliable red zone weapons I've seen at the position in recent collegiate seasons. And I would guess smoother, more natural at the top of his routes. He can do deep cross. He can do a delayed release, motion flat routes, stick routes, curls, seam routes. I'm not sure what he can't do. He also has vertical ability. So I'm on board with you. If they get Fant and they get Hawkinson and they've got Mac Truck McDonald and they've got Juju, I just don't see how Ben Roethlisberger couldn't be completely elated, and Randy Fichtner will be NFL Coach of the Year.
I think that that Ben throws for 6,000 yards if that's the receiving core. You're talking about what are the there are no cornerbacks that can cover these giant guys. Come on now. They're gonna abuse them. Yeah, they're not gonna speed by them, but they're fast enough that they can challenge them a little bit down the field. And all they really got to do is stiff arm, and they're all going to fall down because they're all little guys. Cornerbacks are little teeny guys, and these guys are gigantic, monstrous guys. That's why cornerbacks don't cover tight ends. So if you have nothing but tight ends, this seems like a solution that is so obvious and so in everyone's face that they can't see the forest for the trees. And they have to. I think it's imperative of the Steelers to make sure that what they come out of in this draft is both Noah Fant and T.J. Hawkinson. I know that we're in love with the Devons, but the Devons play defense, and with this kind of offense, they're going to outscore everybody. It's just going to be amazing.
Well, something else that's even more exciting is how tenacious Hawkinson is as a blocker, because everybody loves David DeCastro because he's like one of the best, if not the best, pulling guard in the NFL, and he's relentless on the line. Hawkinson is David DeCastro as a tight end, relentless on the line, but he has the finesse of a guy who can release and get into the receiving route. Who wouldn't want a guy like that on their team?
Yeah, you just throw it you throw the ball to Juju underneath. You got these other three giant monsters out there, split out, and they're all downfield blocking against these tiny tight end or tiny cornerbacks and safeties. Juju's going to go 87, 97 yards on every play. Who could possibly tackle him? There's nobody left. These guys have wiped out everybody out because they're downfield blocking. Look, I know this is unconventional. This is outside the box thinking, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to think outside the box in order to get outside the box. Sometimes you're stuck in a box. We don't want the Steelers to be stuck in a box, so they have to think outside the box, and that's what this is.
Well, and I love it because everybody always is talking about how creative Bill Belichick is, and some of these other coaches, how creative they've gotten with their tight ends. And I've been saying for a while that Randy Fichtner, I think he wants to go to heck, I could see him going to a 3 tight end set.
Why not
get these guys? Get these guys and go to just a spread it out. Ben Roethlisberger used it last year, and it was when he did, it was exciting. It gave a whole new perspective to what the Steelers' offense could look like. Just make it a 5 receiver set and make 3 of those guys tight ends.
I say make 4. Put the X-Men out there. Look, he's big and strong. Clearly he doesn't know how to avoid tackles, and he wants to run everybody over, but that's okay if he's supposed to be blocking. So I say put them all out there. Put Xavier Grimble out there, Hawkinson, Fant, and McDonald with Juju. And now, because really, Juju's a tight end, that he's just a receiver as a tight end, which is what are all going to be. Why not put all 5 of that? Spread it out with all these giant guys who are going to just abuse the secondary of every team in the league. I think this is the greatest plan that anyone has ever come up with. And if the Steelers don't do this, if they waste their time in this draft trying to draft a linebacker, if the Devons are gone when they draft, well, that takes that off the block for them. But we got a lot of people who are saying you got to trade up and get one of those Devons. If they do that, I think they're making the biggest mistake they've ever made. I think that they have an opportunity to change the way offense is played in this league and do it in such a way that they could win not just one, but maybe even multiple Super Bowls before Ben retires with a offensive package that no one will know how to stop. Dare I say it, it's genius.
Well, and with teams moving to these hybrid box safety / linebackers, if anybody's looked at any film of Hawkinson, just for example, there is a clip that is, and Chase Hams and I did a whole article. It was about potential tight end prospects that would fit for the Steelers. We included this play in that article. Hawkinson, and it's called The Block for a reason. I can guarantee that if they get Hawkinson involved, that Ben Roethlisberger behind that offensive line and in this new hybrid multi-tight end offense, Ben Roethlisberger's not going to have to worry about time. He's going to just pick his targets. He's going to have so much time, he's never going to get grass on his jersey. And that's exactly what Big Ben wants at this point in his career.
Yeah, and look, we all saw last year Ben had a little problem sometimes throwing the ball a little high, right? With these guys, that's very difficult to do. I think it will take those initial opening jitters and make them a benefit for Ben, that while he's a little off, these guys are going to be able to make up for it because they're giant.
Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Ben just kind of rainbows the ball, and Fant or Hawkinson goes up to the high point, and I mean they're going to be 3 feet taller than any box safety or interior linebacker. And then they're just going to burn them down the field.
Yeah, it will be literally impossible for Ben to overthrow these guys, I think, which I think, again, is why he could throw for 6,000 yards with these guys. I'm getting really excited about this, and I feel like it's a great concept and certainly is feasible because, look, I'll tell you what. If there's a tight end needy team in the draft that's looking for Fant in the second round, and the Steelers have already drafted Hawkinson, they don't think the Steelers are going to draft another tight end. The Steelers could probably move up ahead of anybody that's a tight end needy team, thinking I can get up there and get him because nobody thinks I'm going to draft another tight end, and then they do it, and everybody is shocked and stunned. The draft Twitter goes insane, and everybody's calling for Tomlin's head and Colbert's head, and they all lose their stuff until the season starts and the beauty of this plan takes off. It's making me excited for the draft that's coming up, and in fact, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, okay, hypothetical. Say Fant falls and someone grabs him. The next guy that ought to be on the board that they ought to be talking to about grabbing is Isaac Nada out of Georgia. And let me tell you why, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't show as much consistency in being a dynamic route runner, but his high point ability and adjustment to throws that aren't on target, okay, we know Ben sometimes uses a little bit of football mentality. He likes to put the ball where only his receiver can get it. And Isaac Nada is a guy that could fill the void if Fant were to fall to someone else.
All right. I'm in. Hey.
He had the lowest drop rate percentage in the SEC, so why wouldn't he also kind of be on their radar?
Yeah, and look, people have been calling for years for Alejandro Villanueva to switch back to tight end because he played receiver at Army. You know what? Have him come in and declare eligible on every play. I'm telling you, you get these big guys running these routes and knocking people over and out there doing their damage, there's going to be so many open guys, it's going to be absurd. A Ben could just throw the ball up anywhere. It's just amazing.
And can you imagine if they decide that they're going to go after Josh Oliver from San Jose State too?
Unbelievable.
I don't know if you. Oh my gosh! I don't know if you've watched any of his film, but his pure athleticism. He could separate from almost anybody in the Mountain West. And it wasn't that he was necessarily a good blocker, but again, he had games where he with his vertical going up for a ball, he looked like he had to have been 3 feet off the turf.
Really? I like it.
I mean, yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, and to be able to like maintain control of your body when you're going up that high and still steal the ball from a tall corner. I mean, I'm getting a little carried away. Maybe I need to pull it back a little bit. But some of these guys are just, you know, the potential is just so incredible and exciting that I need to reel it in. I need to take a moment. You need to take over here.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, we're all going to be excited because the draft is not that far off. It's April 25th. You know, all these things are going to start to pan out. And, you know, well, let me try to remember. April 25th is how many? What is today again, Tina? What date is it?
Oh, let's see. I always get my days let me look at my calendar really quick.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, today's Monday. That makes it April 1st, 2019.
April 1st. Well, don't I feel foolish? I had no idea that it was April 1st. That means the draft's only 24 days away. And you know what else that means?
No. No, what does it mean?
Oh, come on. Say it with me. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
April Fools.
April Fools.
For those of you who have borne with us through this podcast, yeah, okay, it's April Fools. While we are not necessarily saying the Steelers should not draft a tight end some point in the draft, we certainly are not recommending they draft multiple tight ends. Heath is not coming back, nor is Mark Bruner. But we wanted to have some fun.
And Mark Bruner didn't. I doubt Mark Bruner really laced up in cleats.
Hence why all our sources are unnamed and unknown, and why we can neither confirm nor deny anything. We're going to confirm that this was all an elaborate April Fool's hoax. We hope that you got a chuckle out of it. And to just kind of tie this off, we are going to play a cut from Le'Veon Bell's album that just, was released recently. Are you ready, Tina?
I think I'm ready.
All right, here it goes. 1, 2, 3.
You need to give me the drop. Give me the drop beat, though. Okay, here we go. More money.
I didn't get
More
paid.
money.
I didn't get paid.
More money.
I didn't get paid.
More money.
There you go.
I'm going to the Jets.
There it is. I don't know what that track was called. I don't care.
I think it was Jets.
Jets. That's what it was.
Jets.
All right. Tina, thank you for playing along and joining me for this edition of the podcast. Tell everyone how to find you, who you are, where you are, and whatever else you want to let them know about.
Well, since we pulled an elaborate April Fool's joke on listeners, I'm not sure I want to tell them where I'm at or how to find me. You can, if you're interested in some actual tight end news, you can check out our pre-draft coverage on the position at steelcityunderground.com. In the comments field previously, I have been called out for not having much of a sense of humor and being a little dry, and I'm hoping that the commenters will see that, yes, indeed, I do have a sense of humor, and I'm sorry if I was dry in previous podcasts. I'll try to bring the water from the rivers into more future podcast episodes. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter for insightful yet sometimes humorous things, my Twitter handle is at 3 Rivers_writer.
There you go. And as always, I'm at Cannons Don't Thun. Hopefully you took this in the spirit in which it was intended. We promise to get back to more serious Steeler talk, at least as serious as we ever get, with the next podcast. Again, for everybody who didn't know, her name is Tina. My name is Brian. And we, as we always like to say, be kind, because it's chaos out there.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.